What's going on, guys? Mickle here, and was there just a 120-day extension of the Ripple SEC case? In this video, we're going to talk about that and why it's not actually as bad as it might sound. There's also been a lot of speculation about when settlement talks are going to take place. We were told originally that Ripple and the SEC were going to have to get together and talk about a settlement within 14 days of discovery ending. In this video, I'm going to be showing you what John Deaton had to say about that and whether he thinks the parties have gotten together to talk about a settlement yet or not. If you guys are new to this channel or come here all the time, make sure to like and subscribe. It is such a good way you can help support this channel for free and means so much to me. If you guys do not have an Uphold account already, make sure to sign up using the link in the description below. With that said though, let's jump right into it and I hope you guys enjoy the content. I wanted to start this video off by covering this tweet by John Deaton because I think it goes a long way in showing how absurd this Ripple SEC case really is. So right here on Twitter, we have Scott tweeting to John Deaton. He said, "John, do you think we are definitely looking at a win for Ripple, settlement, or is there still a chance of defeat?" And I understand this. This case has been going on for so long. It's so easy to get lost of where we are, all the significant wins Ripple has had, because when things get drawn out like this and it feels like things are lasting forever, it's really easy to lose confidence, especially if you're not paying really close attention to everything happening and if you're not following these lawyers who break things down and make it way easier to understand. I can personally say I would not be nearly as confident as I have been if it wasn't for these lawyers doing such amazing work to help us understand this case. Well, John Deaton tweeted out, "I think the SEC lawyers had a chance of winning a very focused prosecution. If they charged Ripple and only Ripple with specific sales of XRP on specific dates between 2013 and 2018, they could have won. But instead, they pursue the token itself as a security, they will lose." And what John Deaton is saying here is the SEC actually had a decent case if they went to Ripple and said, "Hey, your sale of XRP on this date, and this date, when you sign this contract with this entity, these are considered security sales." No, XRP, the token, doesn't meet our own criteria of what a security is. So we're not trying to say XRP is a security. We're just saying on these dates, you sold XRP like it was a security. John Deaton thinks the SEC actually could have won this case. What is so interesting though, is the SEC brought a case that is so broad and so overreaching that John Deaton actually thinks the SEC filed this case in a way which they couldn't win it. The SEC is now trying to say that the XRP you and I hold is a security of Ripple. This does not make any sense in the court of law because the SEC has been governed by securities laws for decades that specifically state that XRP should not be a security. Oil is not a security of Exxon. Toyota cars are not a security of Toyota, just like XRP is not a security of Ripple. If Ripple went away tomorrow, XRP would still fundamentally have value in the market. So the idea that XRP somehow relies solely on Ripple does not make any sense. That's why John Deaton believes, yes, it's very possible Ripple might have to pay a fine for some early sales of XRP. But the idea that the XRP you and I hold will ever be declared a security doesn't make sense by the same agency, by the rules of the same agency who brought this case. That's how you know either the SEC brought this case out of complete incompetence or there was another reason they brought this case that was really dictated by larger hands behind the scenes. Let's keep going though, and I wanted to show you this. I thought it was pretty interesting. This is a new argument the SEC is trying to make. Somehow the XRP price correlates to announcements by Ripple. Their expert discovery guy literally said that it is rare for Ripple to make an announcement and for the price of XRP to move by more than 2 cents. This is kind of absurd, and I kind of hate this argument to start with because obviously Ripple using XRP more is going to make people realize that XRP has more utility. It doesn't necessarily mean XRP is solely moving because of Ripple, but it obviously is just a benefit to the coin itself. Overall, I think it's a pretty silly argument because just as Stephen Hubert tweets out, so if Elon Musk tweets about Dogecoin and Doge moves, does that make Doge a security of Elon Musk? Obviously not. The SEC is reaching really hard here, and the fact that this is the length they're trying to go to say XRP is a security of Ripple shows how unconfident they are in their initial case, because at the end of the day, this was all sorted out and already stated clearly in securities laws that XRP is not a security. So this just shows that they were getting really desperate to really try to make some absurd claims on why they believe it should be. I don't believe this will be successful, and I just think this statement by Stephen Hubert shows the absurdity of it. Now, I want to get into the most recent extension in this case because I believe this is very significant, and I saw a lot of people worried about this, so I really wanted to make sure I addressed it. So, both the parties, Ripple and the SEC, are now being told to meet about an extension of discovery. Wait, I thought we finished discovery. How could we be going back into discovery? And obviously, if they are going to have to meet and talk about discovery, this is also going to warrant an extension of the case. So how long would this extension be? Well, it would actually be in a 120-day period. So you might be thinking, Mickle, why aren't you like pissed off about this? Why do you seem so okay with it? Well, the fact of the matter is, and this is very interesting, this 120-day discovery period is only for Brad and Chris's case. If you guys remember very recently, the judge actually dismissed Ripple's attempt to throw out the case against Brad and Chris. This came down to a procedural thing. According to the court, they have to assume Brad and Chris are guilty until proven innocent, and because of this, it wouldn't be right for her to throw out the case just yet until we saw some more essentially information come out of this case in whole, and both sides had the opportunity to argue their case. So because of this, there is going to be an extended discovery, but only for the Brad and Chris case, not necessarily Ripple. I've seen a lot of people who really think this Brad and Chris case is going to get thrown out either way. So I don't think this is very impactful on the case at all. Now, there is another delay that we're going to have to talk about, and also whatever happened to the SEC and Ripple. Weren't they supposed to meet after discovery ended to talk about a settlement? You guys are definitely going to want to stick around for that. But I just wanted to show you, Bill agrees with what James K. Filan said. He said, I take your point. I was talking about Ripple as Brad and Chris as a whole, but agrees with the fact that this case was only extended for Brad and Chris and not for Ripple. We know the determination on whether XRP is a security or not is going to come out of the Ripple part of this case, not this point, so I really don't think this is anything to be too worried about. Now, there was a 2-day extension that had to do with the SEC's response to Ripple saying that the SEC shouldn't be allowed to include their late expert report. Essentially, that had to do with this. The SEC is trying to say that XRP moves on Ripple's announcements. We know this isn't true. The SEC is now using this as an opportunity to extend the case. This is what they do. We have said multiple times on this channel that almost everything the SEC does to delay this case is because they don't have a lot of weapons left. The only thing the SEC has to try to intimidate Ripple now is time. Ripple wants this thing to end. They want to start making significant strides in their business in the US, and that is not going to happen until this Ripple SEC case ends. So what does the SEC have for leverage? They have time, and that's it. I think that's why they keep filing these late motions. They want to try to do anything they can to try to extend this case a little longer, because the more time they can draw all this out, the more time they will have, or the more power they will have to force Ripple to the bargaining table and possibly take a settlement that is slightly worse than Ripple could have gotten. At the end of the day, this is only a 2-day extension, and it didn't even look like Ripple tried to deny it. This is likely because after this has been going on for so long, it really doesn't make sense for Ripple to try to fight these tiny battles. Let the SEC have their little win. At the end of the day, Ripple's looking for the big motions, so I also wouldn't be too worried about this 2-day extension. Let's keep moving though. I thought this was really interesting. Someone tweeted at John Deaton and they said, Sir John, a question. So 14 days after discovery, there is supposed to be a 1-hour powwow with the SEC to talk about a potential settlement. I guess that talk already happened prior to Judge Torres' ruling. Can you shed any light? And I believe this is, I was really happy to see this question because this is something I had actually speculated on and said, I don't really think it happened yet, because why would they be meeting to talk about a settlement before all the major rulings were in? Neither of these parties came all this way to simply dip out right before these major rulings were had. And John Deaton said, I don't believe the below mediation has taken place. Now that the motion to strike has been denied, the SEC has 30 days to answer Ripple's pending request for admissions. Also, we're waiting on Judge Netburn to rule on the emails and the Estabrook notes. And I think this is pretty in line with everything we've been saying. These parties, really, there's no point in meeting for settlement now. We need this discovery period and all the rulings around discovery to be finished up so each side can come to the bargaining table and know what each other has. They need to see where each other stands. They'll likely have a good idea of how the judge is going to rule based on these discovery rulings, and that is what will help drive a settlement. I don't believe it's going to happen until these major decisions are made. On the bright side, though, I think these will happen right around the corner, and I think it's very likely they happen at the end of this week or next week. Hopefully this week, because that just brings us one step closer to the settlement we have all been waiting for. Last of all, and I thought this was super interesting, this is Warren Davidson actually responded by John Deaton. This has to do with something pretty unrelated, but he's essentially talking about the conflicts of interest John Deaton is that went on at the SEC, and how it's so crazy that when Jay Clayton was there, he actually voted with the opposing party to bring this lawsuit against Ripple, despite having the votes to actually help the blockchain and crypto industry come a long way. I just think it's interesting to see Warren Davidson quoting him. It shows that the people in Congress are really paying attention to this case. They're paying attention to us, and this is what we need to drive change. The more these congressmen see how upset we are, the more likely they are going to be to step in and tell the SEC their way out of line. These congressmen hate seeing pushback from the people who represent them, because at the end of the day, they want our votes so they can have more power. And if they see that we are unhappy with what is going on when they are in office, they are going to be more likely to address it. I think this is a great step forward, and I think it's also very important to say how significant John Deaton has been for both us XRP holders, but really just everyone in the crypto industry. Make sure if you see him on Twitter, you give him a big thank you. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this update. Make sure if you did, you give me a like and subscribe. It helps this channel so much and means a lot to me. With that said, though, I hope you guys have a nice night, and for now, Mickle out.